Hey, what's up YouTube, and welcome to episode number 3 in my aftermarket radio install on my 2002 Chevy Astro, affectionately known in our family as Astro Annie. So again, let me just remind you of what we are doing here. 1.5 DIN stereo, factory. Been in this van for 19 years, and I'm trading it out for a double DIN touchscreen stereo with CarPlay. And so I'm having to fit a double DIN into a 1.5 DIN hole. So let me show you what you need for this. Watch my first 2 videos if you haven't already. The first video gives you an overview of this whole project, and I give you some things there that I'm not gonna repeat here. And my second video was about building the wiring harness for this build, and I told you everything you needed for that in that video. So this is video number 3, and this is all about creating that space for the double DIN stereo to go into. And so let me show you what you're going to need for this. Okay, all right, so first thing and most important thing is this Metra 95305 double DIN Astro Safari Dash Kit. This is where the magic is at. You need this. Okay, you're gonna need a few tools for this part of the project. You're gonna need to get the trim off on the dash, and you're supposed to use a trim tool for stuff like this, but I'm cheap and I'm not gonna go buy a trim tool just for this. And so I have discovered that I have this set of bike tire tools lying around. I've discovered that these work just as well as a trim tool for getting that trim off. Basically anything flat like this that you can kind of get in there to pry with, you can get the trim off with without breaking it. You're going to be doing some cutting, and so you can use like a jigsaw or something like that. I'm going to be using my air cutting tool. I think this is going to do a really good job and make a clean cut, and so that's what I'm going to be using for this. And so therefore you obviously need an air compressor if you're going to be using that tool. Okay, I also have just my toolbox with all of my general tools in it that, I mean, you just don't know what you're going to use. Or screwdrivers and sockets and stuff like that. And you know, this is always a backyard mechanic's favorite tool, the hammer. And oh, and don't forget a LaCroix. You need a LaCroix for this as well. All right, so so that's the tools. That's how easy it is. You need a Sharpie or a nail or something. You need to be able to mark. You're going to use a template to mark what you have to cut on this dash trim. You can do that with a scribe. I'm going to use a Sharpie to do it, and then I'm just going to cut out the area that that I mark with the Sharpie. So and it's really hard to mess this up, because let me show you something here. This right here is the template, the cutting template. See these tabs? They probably don't show up good on the camera, but these fit right in the hole where your 1.5 DIN radio is right now inside of the dash trim. there's an arrow right here pointing down, so you know the trim sits like this. I'm sorry, the template sits like this on into that trim, so it fits in there. You can't mess it up if these go inside the hole, the existing hole. And so then all you do is you mark the inside of this box with your pen, and then you cut that out, and then this is the actual trim that's going to go in that hole. So look, I'll show you what I'm talking about here. This fits inside of that hole that is made. We won't use this. This is just your template. This is the actual trim that you're going to use in the end. But notice, as long as you don't get too crazy with your cutting, you've got a good 1/4 of an inch here. So your hole doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be straight. Okay, so yeah, time to get to it. Let's do it. All right, so here we go. Let me show you what I'm gonna do in here. Now all you have to remove is this right here, but I'm gonna, as part of this radio install, I'm gonna have to do some things under this kick panel here. I gotta find my wire that goes to the reverse lights on the back, and I'll tell you why in another video. I've also got to run the wire back to the back camera from up here, and so if I go ahead and pull this kick panel out, I'll have a lot better access to everything under the dash. And on the Astro van, this portion of the trim kind of has a lip that goes below this kick panel here. It kind of fits in a groove, and this being such an old vehicle, this trim is kind of brittle, so I don't want to take a chance of cracking anything on this trim. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the kick panel, and probably also going to take these screws out here and pull this out enough just to get any pressure off of this trim piece right here. So let me go ahead. I'm going to remove these screws that are holding this console in. Now, if you've ever done any work in this area, you know there's two nuts down here that connect this to your doghouse as well, and I'm not going to remove those because I don't need to take this doghouse out. I just need to kind of move it out a little bit at the top, and so I can do that without removing those nuts on the bottom. I like to keep all my screws in these cup holders so that I don't lose anything. So now it's just a matter of pulling that out just like that. And like I said, I'm just going to let that hang right there. See, you have to pull this out in order to get this kick panel off, because this actually connects to this kick panel. So now that I've done that, let me take my trim tool here, and I can pop this kick panel off. Move it out of my way. All right, I'm going to leave it just like this, because to go any further with this, I would have to actually remove the parking brake release over here, and that's just more trouble than it's worth. So I'm just going to leave this hanging here. I have plenty of room to get to everything I need to under the dash. Still got room to work here. And now this top trim piece will pop right off. Look how beautifully these tire tools work for this. There's going to be some cables over here you'll need to disconnect, and some wires over here, some plugs over here you'll need to disconnect. And I'm going to be very careful because I already have a crack in this part of the trim here, and I do not want to break that off the rest of the way. Now you're probably wondering what this is, if you can see it right here, because these vans did not come with aux jacks in them. And what I did, and you can search YouTube for this, but a few years back I wanted an aux jack on this factory stereo, and there's some YouTube videos that talk you how to do this, but I added this aux jack into this old factory radio. Now notice that to get this out, this trim panel out, I had to pull this all the way down into first gear. So set your parking brake. You're gonna have to have the key in the ignition so you can turn it to the on position, pull that all the way down, and then that'll free up and you'll be able to pull that out. And then this came out in the process too, but that's no problem. There's nothing to popping that right back in. Nothing broke or anything, it just popped loose. All right. Now watch how easily this radio comes out. There's a tab on each side. It just pops out. I'm gonna remove my antenna cable. Remove the stock stereo cable. The stock harness, plug. And so here you go, that's that. That is out. Now you can see I've routed some charging cables and stuff like that because I just don't like I don't like my cables to show. So I routed those around. Now I have to put this dash trim back in. To make it easy to kind of fool with here, I'm going to go ahead and pull this vent out the same way the other one came out. It just makes it easier to get it in and out, and I'm going to have to take this in and out a couple times, and I don't want to take a chance of breaking anything when I do it. Like I told you, the plastic is already brittle, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull this one out. That's going to make everything easier. Set those over to the side. All right, now I'm going to put this back on, and again I'm going to have to turn the key on, put this down in neutral, kind of drop this into place. See, it goes much easier without these okay, now it's just a matter of marking my trim. And I hope you could see when I took this out, the hole in the inside the dash is plenty big enough for the double din. It's just the trim hole is too small. Okay, so I told you wrong. I believe I told you earlier that this arrow needed to point down. When you installed this template, the arrows point up. You can't mess it up. Arrows point up. This sits in the hole. See how tight it sits in there? And now I just take my Sharpie and I mark it. Okay. So this is the actual radio trim. See that? It fits perfectly in what I have marked. And this is actually up. So let's look at it. See? There you go. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this trim back off. I'm actually going to take it out of the van to do my cutting. All right, there you have it. The cuts are made. The trim is installed. This is basically what it's going to look like. The only thing missing is the radio. So, yeah, that wasn't hard at all. So, all you need is basic cutting ability. Just make sure you take your time. Keep your cut straight. Now, on to radio installation. So, yeah, this Metra Dash Kit, super cool. This was the template, and then made the hole for this to fit in, and I think it's gonna look great. All right, see you in the next video.